Hello and welcome to the OnStage Colorado Podcast. Once again, I'm Alex Miller.
And I'm Toni Tresca.
So this is one of our bonus episodes, so no Colorado headliners today. We don't have an interview, but we'll be discussing what we've seen recently and talking through some news and also digging into our main topic, spooky season.
Yeah, that's right. Lots of different spooky activities happening on stage around Colorado, and we're going to dig into all of that a little bit later in the show. But to kick things off, let's turn to what we've seen since our last episode.
Yeah, so like I was just telling you, I was out of town for the weekend, so I didn't see anything. I was up in Aspen to do some leaf peeping and hang out a little bit. So the leaves were performing, as it were. So
Yeah, you said it was kind of peak time to be there.
seemed like it. Yeah, they were definitely, depends, which altitude you're looking at or where you're at. But I mean, if you drive over Independence Pass right now, it's just like the sea of gold. It's really pretty stunning. So that was fun. The only other performance I saw was I went to I was also happened to be in Colorado Springs last night or Monday night so my wife is a college recruiter, so we were accompanying her on some of her college fairs in Aspen and Colorado Springs, and so Andy and I went to this place called Pub Dog in Colorado Springs, which is like it was fun. It was like a place where they it's like a barn grill, but they also have a dog park outside, so you can have your dogs off leash and sit there and have a beer and and a burger or whatever and watch the dogs cavort, which was pretty entertaining.
Ooh, that does sound like a very good time and very Colorado.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, but you were out to some stuff. What'd you catch this weekend, Toni?
Yeah, so as I talked about last time on the podcast, I went up north to Estes Park to attend the Visit Estes Park Fall Community Roundtable, specifically because they were digging into the topic of Sundance. There wasn't much news to break in terms of like the role Estes Park was going to be playing at the moment. It largely was prepare those hotel rooms and get those activities ready because people are going to want to do things outside the festival and stuff like that. But it definitely the people from Estes Park were definitely bummed by that they couldn't get more of a commitment to host actual events in Estes Park. They did say that they were thinking about expanding outside of Boulder after that first year, but it didn't sound like it necessarily was going to be to Estes.
Okay. Well, and then you were kind of all northern Colorado this week. You were in Boulder and then in Johnstown.
That's right. So I went up also north to Johnstown. I'll start there. Not to Buc-ee's. Didn't make the stop this time.
It's okay. You don't have to go every time.
I know. That's right. But I was going to Candlelight Dinner Theater to check out its production of Steel Magnolias. This is a play that you and I had seen earlier this year over at Theater Silco. And so I was curious to see another take, kind of do a little compare and contrast. And
yeah, Silco set a pretty high bar.
That's for sure. Yeah, very naturalistic in its style and staging. And this was a little bit different. It still had some pretty good performances, as I point out in my review. But I just think that the director, Shelley Gaza, ended up going a little bit too theatrical with the staging that doesn't quite match with the naturalistic realism that the piece actually really demands. And so there's everything from like really long, unnatural transitions in between scenes to kind of clunky blocking to even lighting design that breaks the mood of the thing and actually isolates characters for certain scenes. And so those choices were just kind of confusing and definitely took me out of the production a little bit and seemed to be working against, in some cases, the performances.
Right. And so you pointed out that this is a venue that's really their audiences are used to big shows, big musicals. Do you think that the artistic director and Shelley were like, we got to make this thing bigger to fill the house? And is that what kind of went off the rails?
I wondered about that a little bit. I kind of mused about that in the piece because Candlelight is so known for doing these splashy productions of big Broadway musicals, and Steel Magnolias is absolutely not that. And so, yeah, I kind of wonder if maybe there's a little bit of compensating for that larger space that they're playing in, and you aren't right up and close to the action. I think it worked best in the scenic design, which was really lovely and expansive. You really get to build this full salon. There's lots of room. You really do believe this environment, and it looks really cool paired with this backdrop that changes colors to kind of reflect the different times of day and the seasons. And so I think expanding it in that fashion worked, but then kind of also fleshing out the other technical elements, it didn't work as much for me.
Do you think that the average patron watching that show would react that way, or do you think they'd just kind of be like, this is what I'm used to seeing here at Candlelight?
I acknowledge that later in the review. I'm like, despite these kind of technical things, I think that the script is so resonant that people were still laughing at a lot of the jokes. And like when Malin comes out and delivers that final searing monologue about her daughter's death, people are going to cry regardless of if I thought the staging was pretty clunky. Like it has her get up and walk in the middle of this monologue from her chair as she's like supposed to be breaking down at her lowest point. She's up and moving center stage with a spotlight. To me, it didn't work, but I heard people crying. So,
okay. Well, on another one, you were at local theater company's premiere of A Case for Black Girls Setting Central Park on Fire, which you kind of raved about. So tell us about this one.
Yeah, so this piece is by Corey Alston. I saw it back in fall 2023. And I went into it a little bit hesitant because I had seen this reading. At the time, I kind of thought it was a little bit unwieldy and perhaps unstageable because of the poetic nature of it. However, now seeing this production fully brought to life by Betty Hart with a ton of technical ambition, I think that this piece didn't quite click for me at that reading because it was always supposed to be in motion. This play is about a young Black girl called 12 who is running for her life. She's had this trauma. She hears a voice. She thinks it's God. It says run. To what? From what? To where? These are questions that the play is going to grapple with through these kind of surreal, very amusing, but also kind of dark exchanges that she has. It feels very Waiting for Godot, as I mentioned in the piece, in several scenes, particularly in this exchange she has with Nat Turner. And I just think that the play really popped for me in this setting. Betty Hart direction is just so frenetic. It's always moving. She and the scenic designer have built a set that has treadmills built into it.
That's wild.
That it truly is wild to witness. And so these characters are constantly literally moving. They're never at peace, which is so fitting for the experience that these characters are having and the kind of repetitive nature of these conversations. And then as I say in this piece, it's Waiting for Godot meets The Wizard of Oz, because there's also this kind of, it doesn't end in this period where you're just waiting for something to change. You don't know what to do next. There is kind of more of a resolution to the piece, and that's something that's changed from the reading as well. And I think that maybe also was why I didn't quite connect to it, because I was like, oh, it just kind of ends here. I'm not sure what. So what? So why did we go through this experience? But with the tweaking that has been done in the interim between when the play was read in 2023 and now this full production, I just think the tweaks to the script have really, really made it pop. And then Betty Hart's superb direction, along with really good performances from the entire cast, make this piece. I could see why people wouldn't like it. It can be kind of hard to get your hands around the poetry in some places. It's a little bit like Shakespeare, and that I'd argue you just kind of have to go with the emotion sometimes and not try to get every single word. But if you're somebody who is interested in kind of experimental theater that pushes the bounds a little bit, this is definitely going to be up your alley.
Okay, definitely something new. It's great that you had the comparison between seeing the reading a couple of years ago and where it went from there, and like what a huge difference it was.
Betty had just like reached out back in 2023 and was like, I'd love you to see this piece. And I was like, okay, I'll make it. It was just one of the many things I'm seeing. Fall is always our busy time, seeing tons of theater. But I'm definitely glad I made time for it, even if at the time it didn't totally work for me, because it's fun to actually see that growth. It doesn't always happen with plays, as we note on the podcast before. Like, we attend the new play summit at the DCPA, and it doesn't always feel like there's growth sometimes, or a
Right.
lot of changes between the scripts. And so it's fascinating that with this 2 years, there really were substantial changes made. New songs were added to the piece as well. So development, it's a good thing.
It works sometimes. All right, well, let's switch to the news bag. What's the scuttlebutt out there this week in theater land?
I wanted to start us off with a story written by friend of the pod, John Moore of the Denver Gazette, that I think you're going to appreciate, Alex. It's entitled "Earlier Start Times, Arts Organizations Have Seen the Daylight." And the opening line is, "When it comes to going out for a show, 7 o'clock is the new 8 o'clock.
Yeah, well, I've always been an early riser, even though I am definitely of the gray-haired set. It's not because of that. I've always been an early riser, and I do appreciate earlier start times. And I have noticed that, especially at the Denver Center, it's like all of a sudden everything's at 7 o'clock.
Except for opening nights, which they still do have at 7:30 often.
Which, by the way, makes a pain in the ass to put in the calendar. So, but that's okay.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like you. I also enjoy getting home early. I'm somebody who likes to be asleep if possible, like by 10 o'clock. So moving things up is also really good for me and my sleep schedule. So I'm not.
I didn't think you
complaints
slept
here.
at all, Toni. Just seems like the amount of work that you create is like, when does this man sleep? But you're also an early riser, so.
I was like, yeah, but I also get up fairly early, so it's in bed by 10. I'm usually awake before 7.
Mm-hmm. All right,
but this is not a podcast about my sleep schedule. This is we're here to talk about this news from John, and so he notes that this is happening in comedy clubs, at music shows, and of course at theaters. Although I would quibble, not all music shows, and sometimes even though music shows have an earlier start time, that is not when the show starts.
You had a super late night at Black Rebel Motorcycle Club a week or so ago, right?
That's right. Yeah, this is me speaking from personal experience. I was over at the Summit Music Hall in Denver. And yeah, the doors were at 7. Show was supposed to start at 8. Opener didn't start till 8:30. And the main act's not getting on until close to 10. And so I was just like...
brutal.
As I just said, I like to be asleep by 10. So I was like, okay, I got to leave. I have to leave a little early from this. I cannot stay for the whole show.
Yeah. So along with the Denver Center, what are some of the other theaters that we're seeing this at that John called out?
So John specifically mentioned that the Boulder Ensemble Theater Company, Betsy, Colorado Springs Theater Work, Theater Silco over in Silverthorne, 2 Cent Lion, and Shifted Lens are among the theater companies who have embraced the 7 p.m. start time for evening performances.
Right. And he was just thinking because many theater goers are older than 55.
Yeah, and he has a quote here from David Siegel, who's the executive director of the Ent Center for the Arts, which effectively runs TheaterWorks, and he says, quote, "Our going to 7 o'clock start time was in response to what we've heard from our audiences who don't want to be out at the theater until 10:30 p.m. anymore." Which is basically what we've been saying here. And that he says that call for earlier start time comes from audience members across all ages and all demographics. And he also noted that since 2023, the number of out-of-town households buying tickets to the Ent Center has increased by nearly 40%. And that is defined by people who live beyond a 50-mile driving radius. So if those people aren't getting out until 10:30 and then have to drive like another hour home, people aren't getting home until like 10, 11:30, midnight. And so you don't want to discourage people from driving to your theater. So if you just shift it up a little bit, it makes it a little easier for them.
Yeah, that's a fascinating stat. Up 40%. Out of Colorado Springs household going to shows at the Ent Center.
Yeah, I really do wonder what the driver is there. I wonder if they've been increasing their marketing budget, or if it's just people who are looking for theater are now willing to drive, or are willing to drive a little bit more.
Yeah,
I don't know. Not
What
sure.
about Sunday matinees? Are those times changing at all? Or
Yeah, they are slightly. There's been a rise in the 4 to 4:30 Sunday matinees, which I thought was a little bit interesting. I
huh,
think it would be
that doesn't really.
earlier.
Yeah. Hmm. Well, I don't know. When I think about the Denver Center, I still sometimes think it wouldn't hurt for them to mix up the 7 and 7:30 times to help with traffic flow in and out. Although, of course, it depends on when the shows start and end. But I definitely am down with 7 o'clock shows. And I was thinking about it last week also when I was at that They Might Be Giant show at the Ogden. It started at 8. They had no opener, but with shows that do, man, they can go really late, and I find myself just wishing the opening act would stop. And if you're thinking about older crowds, you might think that a lot of this concert stuff applies to younger people, but there are plenty of older folks out at concerts, especially for the older acts we got into when we were younger. In addition to these late start times, this is maybe a whole nother topic, but a lot of times there's no place to sit, or you're down in the you want to be close, and then you're just getting beat up down there with the people thinking they have to dance like freaks the whole time, stuff like that. But yeah, another topic. What else is in the news?
The Denver Film Festival released its 48th lineup. So this festival is running from October 31st through November 9th at the Sea Film Center, the Ellie Calkins Opera House, Holiday Theater, and the Botanical Gardens. And there's some really good stuff in there.
Yeah, like what do they have on the docket this year?
So opening night at the Ellie Calkins Opera House is the third entry in Rian Johnson's Knives Out trilogy, Wake Up Dead Man, A Knives Out Mystery, on Halloween, October 31st. So I will be there. I've got my ticket secured for that. I'm a big fan of the Knives Out series so far. This is one of my most anticipated films to be released for the year. So it's pretty cool that the Denver film got this film a month before its theatrical release and a month and a half before it's supposed to drop on Netflix.
All right. Well, that sounds great. Well, they're going to be coming up on their 50th anniversary right around the time Sundance kicks off, huh?
That is correct. Yeah. And Denver Film has already been doing some strategic maneuvering to align itself with Sundance.
Mm-hmm.
They're not in the same months. I think that they do have different audiences. And so I think that they can work together, and Denver and Boulder are not the same place. So
For sure. Anything else that they're doing there as part of the film festival this year?
some other big ones to look out for is Creed USA. This is the documentary about Creed Rep.
Oh, yeah.
Is going to be making its local debut here. It has screenings on November 4th and 5th. If you are somebody who likes to view all the Colorado shorts, November 6th is going to be your day to hit the documentary and narrative features. There's some really cool stuff in there. And then finally, the John Elway documentary from Netflix is going to be kind of closing out the film on November 8th. So big one for all the sports fans.
That's right.
I don't have that one on my list.
Okay. All right. You just had some breaking news come in. What's this?
That's right. Yeah. So as we're recording, I just got the announcement from the Denver Center that the DCPA shifts approach to immersive programming. So they wrote in an open letter to our community that after much reflection, the DCPA will make a shift in its approach to immersive programming, no longer investing in the development and the production of new immersive experiences. As we look to the future, the DCPA remains committed to innovative programming and will continue to explore opportunities to present established immersive projects.
Interesting. Wow. I wonder if that has something to do with the performance or the audience of Sweet and Lucky Echo that's up right now. If it didn't meet expectations, perhaps.
So they didn't specifically cite any productions by name, but they did say that, quote, this difficult decision was made in response to a constellation of factors: budget challenges and economic uncertainty, unpredictable ticket buying trends, a limited pipeline of immersive content, and the lack of partners to share in the risk of producing new immersive work. Aligning with this decision is the departure of Charlie Miller, Off
Okay.
Center's
I was wondering
co-founder,
about Charlie. Yeah.
executive director, and curator, who's going to leave the DCPA at the end of March after 17 years.
Another friend of the pod. So sorry to hear that, but hopefully he lands in a place that fits his unique talents as an immersive producer.
Yeah, I hope so. The announcement says that over the next 6 months, Charlie is going to continue to work with Off Center on collaborations around Camp Christmas, which that was originally going to be our Off Center announcement to close this segment. They're bringing the Camp Christmas. This is Lonnie Hansen's baby back to the Stanley Marketplace. And so Charlie is going to be helping with that. And then they also say that he's going to be helping with stuff around theater of the mind. So seems like maybe they're going to be rolling that out into additional markets / maybe doing one final hurrah with that.
Interesting. Okay, so they're going to take over the whole Stanley Marketplace for this Camp Christmas. So last year they had it confined to that big hall. Or not last year, the last time, the first 2 years, I guess.
That's right.
So they're going to have like pop-ups and all kinds of stuff going around. So that sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, Stanley Marketplace is booming. I mean, last time I was there, I was like, man, this place, because not all the food hall type places are that successful. Some of them kind of open and close, but that one just seems to be very vibrant.
It's in a good location. I think it's very convenient. It's a convenient meeting place for anybody who's doing stuff over there. So, and also it has some really good shops and restaurants in there, which I think doesn't hurt.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so yeah, I mean it's very great to hear that Camp Christmas is coming back, and it'll be over in the Stanley Marketplace again, but it's a real bummer that that news is coming at the same time that we're hearing about kind of the dissolvement of Off Center as we know it and the departure of the person who has been the creative mind helming that division for years.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk spooky season in Colorado. So hang tight, and we'll get to that. OnStage Colorado is brought to you by the Aurora Fox Arts Center, presenting Schoolhouse Rock Live, September 19th through October 18th. Relive the magic of Saturday mornings following Tom, a nervous young teacher, as characters on his TV spring to life and show him how to inspire his students through imagination and music. Tickets at aurorafoxartscenter.org. OnStage Colorado is sponsored in part by Colorado Candlelight, featuring Steel Magnolias, September 11th through November 9th. In a small Louisiana beauty salon, 6 women share humor, love, and strength in a play that blends heartwarming comedy with moments of poignant emotion. Tickets at coloradocandlelight.com. We're also supported by the Boulder Ensemble Theater Company, whose production of The Thin Place plays at the Boulder Dairy Center October 3rd through 26th. Lucas Nath's play is the story of a teenage girl who claims she can communicate with the dead and brings a recently deceased woman back to life during a church service. Tickets at betc.org. OnStage Colorado is brought to you by Littleton Town Hall, whose production of Buddy, the Buddy Holly story, runs September 12th through October 19th. From his meteoric rise to fame to his legendary final performance, this musical features all of Buddy's greatest hits. Tickets at townhallartscenter.org. All right, we're back. We're going to turn to our main topic this week, spooky season in Colorado. So we're focusing largely on stage or performance-adjacent activities. So not like so much haunted houses, but things that are actually more theatrical. And there are quite a few things, including multiple Draculas, Miseries and Rocky Horrors, and a lot of other seasonal stuff.
Oh yeah, I had a lot of fun kind of rounding these up, and it was fun to see which shows this season are being produced by multiple companies around the state. I wonder what it says about Colorado that we have so much love for Dracula, Misery, and Rocky Horror.
I think Colorado has a lot of love for Halloween in general, but I guess a lot of places do. So,
you know, I think you're right, because I was talking with my grandparents who live in Florida, and we were talking about Halloween, and they're like, we don't really celebrate Halloween here in Florida. And I was like, what?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't even have to be Halloween for Coloradans to be dressing up in costumes for one reason or another. So this is just another This is the main event.
That's true. But we're going to kick our discussion off by just kind of diving into some of the spooky plays and musicals that are happening. I'm going to kick us off with La Llorona, which is being produced by Arts in the Open in Boulder. This show is running through October 26th, and it reimagines the chilling Mexican legend through the winding trails of Chautauqua Park in Boulder. I've been to these Arts in the Open shows before. They're really fun and inventive. It is about a 2-ish mile walk round trip up a mildly challenging mountain. It's not super difficult, but if you are somebody who cannot do that, maybe this might not be for you.
Yeah, that's bound to be a fun one. Heading way down south in Pueblo, Impossible Players just opened a show called A Fine Monster You Are. So it's about sweet old lady interviewing a sweet young lady for a job as a secretary companion and explaining that her ancient family mansion has a secret there that may or may not be a monster in the basement. So that sounds like...
Yeah. One happening over in Boulder is The Thin Place. Both you and I have checked this one out.
Mm-hmm.
Not when it was at the Dairy Center, when it was over at the Savoy in Denver, but they've moved the production and it's running in that space until October 26th. This is kind of an unconventional ghost story of sorts.
Great creepy show. Yeah. Definitely apt for spooky season. And then another one in Denver that's the Ballyhoo Table and Stage. So this is friend of the pod Julie Toby's new venture, and like as we mentioned previously, it's the first real full production. It's a kids show called The Pumpkin Kid. Did you get out to see this already?
I didn't. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. My schedule just didn't end up working out.
Okay. So anyway, it's a family-friendly musical with a live band and a pumpkin carving extravaganza. So all the way through October 25th there at the Ballyhoo Table and Stage. Great opportunity to check out that new space as well.
Mm-hmm. Up in Brighton, the Platte Valley Theater Arts is staging Frankenstein. We had Kelly Van Osbury on the podcast last week. She chatted a little bit about this show, which she is directing up there. Jeffrey Parker is the creature in this show, and all the production photos just look really cool. It's opening October 10th and runs through the 19th, so it's a pretty short run. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it out, but I think you're going to go see it, right?
Yeah, I'll be there this weekend. And Jeffrey Parker's name is often on theater programs these days as a dialect coach, which he's very good at. But he's also a fantastic actor. Last time I saw him was in Platte Valley's Cabaret, and he was just dynamite. So looking forward to this one.
Yeah, he really is a fantastic dialect coach, and you notice it when show was lack a dialect coach or don't have him on there because it's the Jeffrey Parker difference.
You often notice bad dialects, but when Jeffrey does one, you notice that the good dialect, and I'd be like, oh, who did this? Oh, yes, Jeffrey. I'm not saying he's not there. There are some other good ones in Colorado, but man, especially those British accents, which a lot of people, which is probably the most common accent you'll see on stage, and which often are just awful. He definitely goes in there and cleans it up and helps people make them sound legit.
Mm-hmm.
Next, up to the mountains in Breckenridge, The Haunting of Breck Theater. So this is something they've been doing for a number of years now. It's not a performance. It's just kind of a series of things. There's live storytellers, puzzles, quests, riddles, of course, spooky drinks. And they also split it between all ages, those like 3 p.m. And then there's more of a PG-13 one that starts at 7. So that runs October 10th through the 26th.
It sounds like a lot of fun. I've not made it out to that theater yet.
I'd like to check that one out sometime too, but got to go all the way up to Breck.
Yeah. Next one is a little bit closer to folks in the Denver metro area. Cult of Cthulhu. This is the brand new creation from Audacious Immersive. They're performing it in bars around the Denver metro area October 10th through November 1st. It's written and directed by Ren Manley, who's their artistic director over there, and she says it's similar in style to their kind of trunk shows that they've done past Halloween seasons, but this one is focusing on the tales of H.P. Lovecraft and kind of the cults that develop around this. So sounds like an interesting show. I'm going to try to make it out to this one next Friday.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. I would like to check that out. Plus, you get to say Cthulhu.
That's right. And
Just outside of town in Evergreen, the Evergreen players are doing a dark and stormy night. So this is a kind of a unique format. This will be October 17th through 26th, and it'll feature two suspenseful one-act plays alongside their popular Ever Scream readings, now in its third year. So they'll be reading some classics, spine-tingling tales by folks like Stephen King and H.P. Lovecraft and Edgar Allan Poe, and presented by the talented duo of Leanne and Eric Ritter. So up there in Evergreen.
for those who like their spooky seasons with some sick dance moves, you're going to want to head on over to the People's Building in Aurora for Life/Art Dance Ensemble and Rocky Mountain Rhythms collaboration, Dancing in the Dark, Escape the Haunted Library, October 24th through the 26th. And this show, they've been doing this for a couple of years in this space, and they just remake the building into this immersive environment and invite you to kind of stroll through the supernatural immersive dance experience. And it's highly interactive, so you get to decide how the story unfolds. So it's a really unique dance-filled way to enjoy Halloween.
All right, well, let's move on to the Dracula set of things. We got three of them. One of them is at the Colorado Ballet. So this is up now and runs through October 12th. There's also, and you've seen that before. You said it was pretty great.
It is. It's a really fantastic production, and I'm going to be heading over actually to see it again on Sunday, October 12th. It's closing night, which is also when they're doing a vampire ball beforehand. So they're inviting everybody to dress up in their best vampire garb and then take over the venue.
Okay, that sounds great. And then this is one we spoke about, I think, last week. It was one of our headliners, The Vampire of Cripple Creek at the Butte Theater in Cripple Creek, of course, October 3rd. So it's up now through November 2nd. And then way down south, Main Street Live in Trinidad is doing a Dracula. I'm not sure which version this is, but it's up later in the month, October 24th through November 2nd.
So that one appeared to be a more traditional adaptation of Dracula, whereas the one at the Butte Theater is more specific to the area, and it's in a melodrama fashion.
Okay. We got some other dupes, some multiple opportunities to see a particular show. What's this next one?
So if you are a fan of Stephen King's Misery, you have two different opportunities to see it. First, at the West Cliff Center for the Performing Arts, this production is up now and runs through the 12th. And then up north in Fort Collins, over at the Lincoln Center, produced by OpenStage Theater and Company. They're doing Misery starting on Halloween, October 31st through November 29th.
All right. Well, that's a lot of Misery. Another one that's coming up, and I guess maybe it's the 50th anniversary. Is it still the 50th for Rocky Horror? Or was that last year?
It's the 50th this year. You're right.
Okay.
The film debuted in 1975.
Ah, yes, I remember it. So a bunch of Rocky Horror activity. You got in Golden, you've got Rocktober 2025 at Gnarly's Theater with Colorado's Elusive Ingredient. That's October 11th.
And Gnarly's is where Miners Alley used to be.
Ah, Gnarly's Theater. So what's going on in there along with this?
Mostly comedy. They do a lot of comedy shows in that space. I need to go see a show there. I haven't yet, but I know that that's where that is because I was looking it up. I was like, where the hell is this Gnarly's?
That's great.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Performance Lives On.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm glad it didn't turn into like a CPA's office or something like that. And okay, the next one up is in Manitou Springs at Iron Springs Chateau. So they're doing Rocky Horror Live Shadowcast October 17th through 31st. And then the Richard O'Brien Rocky Horror, which is sort of the musical, is going to be at the Durango Arts Center October 24th through November 1st. And then this is also going on at the Sea. So what's this one there? This is also Colorado Elusive Ingredient.
Yeah, it's another Shadowcast. They have a monthly arrangement now at the Sea since the venues that they had previously performed at have all closed. And so now they've moved over to the Sea where they perform. And the show on October 18th is their monthly show, but It's also a good spooky season offering.
Okay. And they'll also be doing it at the Pace Center October 25th and at the Boulder Theater October 30th, looks like.
Yeah, 2 showings at the Boulder Theater. They've got the early bird showing at 6:30 p.m. and then the late night showing at 9:30.
Uh-huh. Okay, and then at the aforementioned Ballyhoo Table and Stage, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Night of 1,000 Frankenfurters, October 30th and 31st. So this is a participatory thing. There's going to be screening the show, a live pre-show with the cast from the House of Ishan's Richie Ramos and special guest Starchild and Enzo Benzo. So all kinds of Rocky Horror stuff going on in there at Ballyhoo.
Mm-hmm. Just a couple of other things to put on your radar. If you are in the Denver metro area, there's a really great Halloween bar crawl that happens October on Halloween that goes all around the ballpark, Lodo and Larimer Square area. This is the 11th edition that they've done this. It's their all access bar crawl. It's a really cool event.
Great. And then at the Bug Theater, they're doing something called Denver Fright on October 21st and 2nd. So these are local storytellers with chilling, funny, and unforgettable tales, all rooted in Colorado lore. So, and it's also part community gathering and one of a kind kind of thing, it says.
If you find yourself up in the Central City area on October 11th, they're going to be doing a haunted history tour all around the town. Your evening begins with signature cocktails in the historic and haunted Teller House, and then you'll get a personalized tarot card reading before you go and walk around Central City to see all of its haunted sites.
Great. This is also a great time of year to do a walking tour. So the Denver Walking Tours folks do one called Denver After Dark. So the one they're doing through November 8th is definitely going to be focused on whatever spookier sites around downtown they can find. So that one, a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's a haunted tour that goes it stops right across the street from my apartment. Do you think I should be worried?
Yeah. You get that kid from The Sixth Sense to look and see if there's some, spooks hanging from the rafters or something.
Will do. I'll get on that right after the pod. Over in the Golden area, Elevate Immersive is doing a haunted bar crawl, The Talking Dead, through October 30th. It's a 3-hour ghost tour. I did this last year, and it mixes history with supernatural, and you meet these 6 to 8 figures who are portrayed by actors and are real life golden people who are haunting the area. It's really interesting, and you also have some stops at bars along the way, so you can whet your palate.
Okay. If you're fired up to do something on October 31st itself, which of course this is a Friday Halloween this year, so it should be pretty wild out there. The Vampire Ball at the Dairy Arts Center. So they are doing a big dance to the death in the Grand Ballroom with DJs, and meet the Vampire Queen and barter for eternal life in the crypt. Embrace the live performances from Fiasco and Sailing Cut. So I don't know, a bunch of stuff going on there, and also proceeds benefit the immortal vitality of the art cinema programs at the Dairy. So if you're in Boulder, that sounds like a fun place to be on Halloween night itself.
And then also on Halloween, Meow Wolf Denver is hosting the Cosmic Howl, which is a large-scale house party that transforms all of Convergence Station into a multi-sensory celebration. It includes live performances by Denver band Maybe Fern and Anna Luna, music from DJ Chris, and a themed costume contest with categories like Intergalactic Couple and Most Nostalgic Halloween Vibes. Meow Wolf's trippy enough already. But it sounds like this is going to be doing a special Halloween makeover.
That sounds like a great place to be on Halloween.
Mm-hmm. Well, that brings us to the end of our show this week. Alex, what's going to be up next on the pod?
So next week we were talking about doing a story about booze in theaters. It was based off another story in the OnStage blog, where they were talking about what theaters might confront. There's the balance of the revenue you can get from selling booze versus the any potential problems you might have with patrons who have too much or things like that. So we're gonna talk about some of that. I don't know if we have an interview lined up yet, but maybe we will. Also, upcoming reviews to look at on the site include Shucked, which we'll both be at tonight on October 7th for opening night. This is at the Denver Center, touring Broadway show. Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, which is the Denver Center theater company, kicking off this weekend. Or actually, I guess it's up already, but we're going this weekend. You're going to be at Dance Nation at Family Theater.
That's right.
Yeah. And then
on its opening night over at the People's Building in Aurora.
Great. And then Judith down in the Springs is going to check out Brigadoon from First Company Theater. We were talking about trying to get to Cult of Cthulhu, and I want to try and get to Lizzie at the Fox. That's another good one to mention. The story of Lizzie Borden, who chopped up her parents, will be opening at the Aurora Fox. Also,
yeah, that's a good spooky one. That's a good one.
Also, this week, I will be at Lone Tree's production of Nice Work If You Can Get It. So this is directed by Kate Gleason and features a great cast featuring Marco Alberto Robinson and his wife, Adrienne Lee Robinson, who we just saw on stage together recently, and they're great together. Carter Edward Smith, Shabazz Green. This is an older show. I think it's a Rodgers and Hammerstein madcap comedy kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to checking that out.
Yeah, me too. I'll be there on opening night as well.
Oh, great. I'll see you there.
Yeah, we're going to quite a few shows together this week.
Yeah.
Very different ones. Shocked, Nice Work If You Can Get It, and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. What's the Venn diagram connecting all these?
Love it. 10, Colorado. I guess that's it for now.
That's right. Well, if you want to stay up to date on all these shows that we're going to be seeing over the next week, as well as what's going on in theaters all across the state, you're going to want to subscribe to the OnStage Colorado Theater Blast on the OnStage Colorado website. And then after you do that, why not rate, review, and be sure you're subscribed to this podcast so you don't miss an episode.
Yeah, and if you're feeling flush, you can donate to the cause, too. There's a donate link under resources on the website. So, all right, well, that's it for this week. Thanks so much for listening. I'm Alex Miller.
And I'm Toni Tresca, and we'll see you at the show.